Nothing that we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. 8:30 a.m. EST back at it here. And we just got our news. Let's see what the data is. Okay, looks like it's dollar week data. So what do we have drop today? Thursday the 29th. GDP was a little better than expected, but still negative, and the unemployment was a little worse than expected. So yeah, basically what that's saying is the economy is still having a hard time. You would think that would be dollar strong news. It might just be that the market is kind of playing around and reacting. So until the market is done playing around and reacting, I really can't do much trading. And it could just be that the news was so weak that things are just going to continue in the direction they were going, right? Maybe it should have been, dollar strong news or whatever it might be. See how that works. Yeah. Economy not working. Yeah. In my head, I'm thinking like, if the economy is showing off it's mixed data. It's just mixed. GDP is a little better than expected, unemployment a little worse than expected. And you're just going to see the markets get messed with. So like, for example, on USD JPY, you just see a big candle. Now it's heading in the other direction. You just got to let the market digest the news. But if you look at the headline of this show, it's about the NASDAQ Euphoria, whether or not that's going to continue. So we're going to go to a higher time frame. So yesterday, the earnings for NASDAQ pushed things up. Now the earnings came out after market, so the NASDAQ futures were really going to be what got reflected there for NVIDIA. So the NVIDIA earnings affected NASDAQ futures. Looks like that's coming back down for the moment. And it was a pretty hard push up. And remember, there are some headwinds when it comes to NVIDIA, their chips, losing market share in China. Supposedly they have this big initiative to regain that market share that they lost in China by producing chips that China is allowed to have. And I think it's pretty well accepted that China was able to get the chips they were not supposed to have. So it's all just kind of kabuki theater, as anything really is nowadays. I can look at the algos for NASDAQ, and we'll take a look at NVIDIA itself. NASDAQ's just bullish. If you look at the high time frame, it looks like it wants to continue upwards. It, of course, you had the tariff pullbacks, and then you had it pushing back up, breaking the recent high last night with the NVIDIA good news, right? So I think it will continue up, but I do think that if it does continue up, it's probably going to just grind. I don't know, unless there's some kind of really good news that comes out. I think you're going to see price continue to grab liquidity off of this area and slowly make its way up if it goes up at all. And that might take some time. I think everything's going to slow down a bit. The NASDAQ all-time high was up here at about 22.5 or so. And I don't know that we're going to see those highs again until maybe after the summer. You never know. The world's pretty wild. Trump can make an announcement. Who knows? For the moment, though, it looks like price may just kind of flounder in this area. It wants to go up, but it's a question of whether or not it will. And that might only last for a month or two, that we see just kind of a slow grind up or even some sideways and up and, consolidation. So it might be like a good time to scalp. When things calm down, it might be that things are a little bit more predictable, if you will. We do have V the Gorilla here with us. How are you, sir?
Hello.
I can barely hear you. Do you got some more volume? Maybe it's my speaker.
Hold on. Let me deep throat my mic.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Are you making some new ASMR, videos?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's NVIDIA. There was a little euphoria in the markets last night after NVIDIA posted their earnings.
What is their earnings, by the way? I don't pay attention to.
I mean, I could look at it. I have to go to NVIDIA and tell you. All I know is earnings good. I didn't really look at the numbers because I don't care. But there was an expectation that earnings wouldn't be so good, and they were good. So we could go over the data if you wish, or just know that the headline is what everybody cares about. So in the aftermarket, the futures market for NASDAQ, of course, NVIDIA is like 14% of NASDAQ. So really it crushed the NASDAQ upwards. Now NASDAQ's already headed back down. The euphoria is gone. People are selling off, profits being taken. And it looks as if this was being pushed up and held up for a number of hours just so the smart money could rob the unsuspecting public kind of plebes trading futures, thinking that the world's going to do great because NVIDIA had one good report, when in reality, I don't think a whole lot's changed. So if we look at NVIDIA itself, we'll see it's probably gapping up on the open. No, yeah, oh yeah. So the gap up is up to this. I lined out some levels yesterday during the live lab, and those levels were 137.46. Then you have 143.52, 149.12, 153.09, and these are the areas where it could go. Now, right now, it's going to gap up to this 142.30. So just before the 143.50, it's going to gap up. It may continue up, but you have some resistance levels at which price may meet, resistance. It might not be able to make it down. And if you look at this move here on the 3-hour going back to early April, this has been quite the move up. Plenty of gaps up on the opens though. This would be a bigger gap up than we've seen in quite some time. So the earnings really, did make a difference here. Let's see here. Reported. So the estimate was 0.7. And it was a 0.81 factor. So you're looking at like a 10% above earnings. That's what the I don't want to say miss, but the estimation was about 10% below what they got. Reported was at 44 billion. Estimate was at 43.3 billion. So the surprise was about 730 million. That's it, to really answer your question. So yeah, that's just going to push NASDAQ up, but NASDAQ's already coming back down. So that should kind of tell you, like, it should temper your expectations on NVIDIA. And we all know what NVIDIA really is. V, can you tell us what NVIDIA really is?
It's a graphics card manufacturer. That's all it is. This is how bullshit the market is, right? This is how bullshit the economy is. Explain to me. And this is how you know market caps are all made up BS. It has no bearing on anything, right? It's like being on the Forbes list. Like, it's stupid. It's based on nothing, right? Explain to me how a graphics card manufacturer that 100% of their income is coming from one SKU is worth more than ExxonMobil in the real world, in a real economy. Explain to me how that would even be possible. It's ridiculous, man.
Well, that's what it is now. And obviously, probably a lot of financial gerrymandering, if you will. Let's go ahead and take a look at the corn here. Now, Bitcoin itself is showing a bit of a sluggishness, having a hard time getting back up to its all-time high. Did try to challenge that. So if you look at the daily candles, and I was kind of sharing this with the members yesterday at Algo Factory, but strictly from a candle theory perspective, Bitcoin made it up to this new high back on last Thursday. And then it tried to reclaim that high and wasn't able to do so. And then you had what is so far a bit of a bearish candle formation. So whether or not price can reclaim that high, the algos are not necessarily set up for that short term. Maybe over time we'll see it. I'm actually pretty sure we'll see that happen. But what I think is going to happen, like in the near future with Bitcoin, is price it'll rotate. It might even challenge the high again. It might try to get some moon boys in. So, it could just kind of simply deflate and then it make its way back down to a certain level that we talked about at Algo Factory that I don't want to talk about here. Or it could kind of scare people in and re-challenge that high and get some moon boys in, maybe even make another high and then make its way back down to the level that we talked about at Algo Factory. I don't think, just based on the algos, that price is ready to make its way to new highs. Well, let me just say sustained new highs. You might see a new high, but I think if you do see a new high, it'll probably head back down after that. So that's just kind of the general look at Bitcoin, and everybody wants to see Bitcoin. And we'll take a brief look at gold. Gold just holding on. Gold seems to like to pop up when you don't expect it to. I know that there is some turmoil overseas, as there kind of always tends to be these days. And if I were to take a look at gold and say, what's it going to do? It looks like for the moment, it may just want to range, in the near term. I think it's going to have a hard time breaking above 33.66 though. But I know V, you're kind of the gold guy. Maybe we'll wait to talk about gold until we can flip over to the private live lab,
Yep.
and let everybody see what's going on.
Absolutely.
So can you get us over there, sir, to the private live lab? We can continue our gold discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, look, follow us over to the live lab, get some real insights, real technical, real critical, real fundamental. The big picture, folks. That's what I'm talking about. The big picture, exclusively at our live lab. It's so worth it. Join us today. Cowboy, take us there.